All right, and good morning. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about plotting in matrices. So, you'll see here, I have the header format. I'm going to change this to SUNY Canton. Email modification, let's do 5/19/24, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and explain matrices first, plots, a very basic plot, how you label, how you how you can make it different colors for the graph lines, and then talk about subplots. Okay. So just remember first that a matrix is defined by m rows and n columns. So let's make a few matrices. So T equals, we'll do bracket 10. So I like to define matrices as brackets. Do capital T as 10 space 12 space 14. Let's do 10 comma 12 comma 15 comma 25 comma 30. And we're not going to do commas. We're going to do semicolons, and I'll show you the difference. Okay, between this one and the other matrix, we'll put a semicolon here. And then the last one we'll do is B equals 1 space 4 space 6 semicolon. I'll do negative 10 space 12 space 15 semicolon 15 space 30 space 45. So this is a 1 by 1 matrix. This one is a 1 by 3 matrix. Okay. Capital A, that is a 5 by 1 matrix. And then this one is a 3 by 3 matrix. All right. So what I'm going to do is, sometimes it's easier. I'm just going to put this, because sometimes when we run it, this is kind of, this acts as your command window. Can I make it smaller? Yeah. What I'll do is I'll run it like this. Oh, no, that's what I'm looking at. Let's see, let's put that, let's do that for now. Okay. All right. Just to give you an idea. So T, so if I run this, change directory, see it's just 10. If I take the semicolon out of capital T, you get 10, 12, 14. So it's a 1 by 3. So 3 columns. If I put semicolons in there, it runs down. So now we have basically 5 rows. Okay. And then if I take the semicolon out of here, run it, now we have a 3 by 3. And again, you could go back to your command window and it actually shows it there too. Okay. Sometimes this is just as easy. I don't have to move the command window. So let's just minimize that, blow that up, and go back to the editor. Let's make this a little bit bigger to see. Put the semicolon back in here. Cool. So there you go. Columns, rows, rows, columns, matrices. They're very important. Okay. Now, just to give you an idea, if we let you know here, so if we do B, it's actually B11, B12, B13, semicolon, B21, B22, B23, and so forth. So in this matrix, this is B11, B12, B13, B21, B22, B23, and so forth. Now, if we want to know the size of a matrix, then we can just say Q, make a variable, Q equals size of T. And we'll run it. And go back to our command window. And it's 1 by 3. Okay? Size 1 by 3. Because we did capital T. So it's a 1 by 3. So if you're unsure, just type size. Okay, well, what happens if we wanted to look at individual parts of a matrix? For example, let's look at, enter. Let's just say R is a variable, but it's A3. So we want to look at the third row. So if I run it, and I'm going to just move this so to show you the command window, the workspace. So A will be 1, 2, 3. It should be 15. So if we look at our workspace, I know it's probably a little hard to see, but your workspace is right here. R, and boom, 15. If I go to my command window, because I took the semicolon out, 15. All right. You could also do like, here's another variable, U, B, 2, 3, and I run it. So B, 2, 3, that should be 15. Let's do, why don't we do 3, 1 and show you? 3, 1 should also be 15, but if I did 3, 2, see right here, U, 15, that should be 30, because that's this position. Because it's 3, third row, second column. 30. Boom. Okay. What happens if, say, you wanted the first column of the matrix? So you say B, then you do colon, comma 1. This will give you the entire, and I'll run it. Did that work? Yep. Okay. So if I go to my command window, it gives me the first column. Now if I type B, B is your 3 by 3. See how it's 1, -10, 15? That's, we grab just this first column. And go back to the editor. To say we wanted the first row, well, you do 1, colon. And I'll run it again to show you, command window. If I type B in, sorry, my keyboard. 146, that's the first row, 146. Pretty cool, huh? So again, recap. Here is a basic understanding of matrices, how you can grab a certain number in the matrix and go from there. All right. Typically what we're going to be doing is kind of what we're going to be doing next. Okay. We're going to assign a matrix and we're going to plot that. So plotting, sure. We're going to say X, actually let's clear everything. X equals 0, colon, by 0.1, colon, 10. Semicolon. We'll take the semicolon and I'll show you. So we created a matrix of X. And if I run this code and I just look at X, see X is 101 numbers going from 0 by 0.1 to 10. All right, so we've created a matrix. It's 101 numbers. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to square it. Okay, and I'll talk about the dot here in a second. All right, so again, if I go back, let me run this again to show you something. So I ran it, command window, it still has answers spit out here because we didn't do CLC. Up here we said clear all, so we're clearing all the variables. But let's CLC, that means we're going to clear the command window. So we don't have any other information that we're looking at. Okay, so now it's clear. So if we type Y, again, Y has 101 numbers and it's squared. Okay, because 10 times 10 is 100, so that matches. Now I put the dot here because the way that this works is it wants to know we're going to square each number. So we're going to square 0 first, then 0.1, then 0.2, then 0.3. All right, it grabs, that's the way it knows. So just put the dot in front of the carets or multiplication. It's a matrixy issue, and when we get to more examples, you will clearly see what's happening. All right. So right now, anytime you have a matrix, it's multiplication or division, or you're squaring it because you're multiplying again, put the dot in front of the operator. All right. And again, the reason is because it wants to capture 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, all the way up to 10. Those individual numbers. Okay. Now, if we want to plot this, we can say figure 1, then we're going to say plot x comma y. And then we run it. All right. And depending on your screen size, it's a little small on my end. It might be because I'm on a Surface. But you do, like, these numbers aren't, it's not as easy to read. I don't know why. I might have to change my settings. But basically you have Y and you have X. I'll have to probably make another video on how you make these bigger. All right, so I'm going to copy these. So we've created a matrix. We did an equation. We've now created a figure 1. We've plotted it. And we can now label. So X label. We're going to label the bottom coordinate X, the Y coordinate Y, and then the title. So if I run it again, we create a plot. Okay. Where we have Y and X in Y versus X. I will have to definitely make a video on how to make those bigger. So I'm just going to X off that. Now, we can do this. We can say close all. So if I run it again, it opens. But if I go back and run it again, it will close that figure or close any figure and rerun it for you. Okay. Yeah, if I go to my other monitors, it definitely is much bigger. Now, I'm trying to think. Yeah, if I go to my other monitors, it's something to do with my Surface monitor, but that's fine. Let's just save as. And let's save it as a JPEG. And I just want to do it on the desktop. Let's just call it untitled. And let's see what it looks like when I save it. Desktop, date modified. Where did it go here? I'm not seeing where it's saved. Interesting. Let's try again. Save, untitled. Interesting. Oh, something I might have saved it, but it doesn't show up. Let's see. I don't think it's saving. Is it saved on this monitor? No. Interesting. Where did it go here? Save as. What happens if I do it in downloads? Okay. There we go. I have no idea. Something why. So it did kind of make it kind of small, but you can zoom in. So it does save okay. So that's what I'll have you do is I'll have you save the figure sometimes, or you might need to in specific homework assignments or courses. So let's go back to Octave. There's the graph. Here's this. And let me get this notepad up that I was looking at. So you can do a few things now. We've created a matrix. We have created a plot. We've labeled. We could put the grid on. We can change the line style. So in the plot, say we wanted dashes. Okay, if I run it again, it's now created a grid. I won't blow up everything. Come on. Here's the grid, and then it created a dash plot. Okay. Or you can do a dot dash or a solid line. Okay. So solid line is just a dash. So here is this one. All right. Let's go just do let's just do that, and then you can make it like if you want to make it blue, the line is B, or red is R, black is K, magenta is M, and cyan is C. So let's just run it. So we get this cyan color. I like using black, especially on a black and white printer. All right, so it's a solid line, which is the dash in black. If you wanted to do markers instead of lines, you can. Like a plus sign, squares, O's. Or diamonds. Let's do magenta diamonds. Look at that. So these are diamonds, magenta. You can do squares. But just remember, typically, if it's a theoretical equation that you're programming and plotting, it's a line. Okay. If you're using experimental data, use markers. Okay. Okay, let's keep going. Say you wanted to only look at a certain section of the graph. So what graph? Oh, I think it goes from 0 to 6 and 0 to 40. So let's look at only 0 to 6, 0, and 40. Okay, and I'm going to show you. So right now, it's a little hard to see, but the X goes from 0 to 10, and the Y goes from 0 to 100. But I'm going to only look at, by using this command, xlim and ylim, from there to there. Okay, so we've now limited the X from 0 to 6 and the Y from 0 to 40. And again, my surface isn't the best, but if you move it to a different monitor, it's really easy to see. So, but you'll see it on your screen. You should be able to. Okay, then the last thing you can do, actually two other things. Let's do this. You can say line width 2 or 23, I don't know. Run it, and now let's make it just magenta. Now it's a thicker line. Okay, So that's cool. And then the last thing is you can format I'm going to delete these two. You can format the X and Y labels to have a font size, to have a font weight, to have a font name. So Times New Roman. Okay. Now again, on my Surface it didn't change, but yours should change, and it should make it bold, and it should make it font size. So like say we did 20, and I run it again. Yeah, see how these now are bigger and that isn't? And then when you move it to another monitor, it looks so nice with that. Cool. So, recap. We defined matrices at the very beginning. Showed you how to pick numbers out of each one. Here, let me turn my camera on. All right. We then created a matrix for X. We created an equation for Y. And then we plotted it. And I showed you how to change colors, how to change the line width, how to use markers, how to put a grid on, how to get your X and Y limits to where you want, and then how to format those for font size to be bold and a font name. Okay. Now, we can also do a couple other things. We can create another plot on top of the line, and I'll show you how to do that, and then do subplots. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is right here, I'm just going to create a new variable called z, and it's going to be, let's say 10 times x. Okay. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to keep all this, enter, and I'm going to say hold on, and I'm going to plot x versus y, no, x versus z, and let's make it red. Oh, so put single quotes like that. So when you say hold on, it's going to hold on to figure 1, whatever, like if you're, see how this is figure 1 and then you type hold on, or you could type figure 1 and say hold on to figure 1, we're going to plot a new line. And we're going to take these limits off. So I'm just going to right click and say, there should be a way to do this as a comment. Format comment. Okay. I'm going to run it. And now we have 2 lines on the graph. We have the y or x squared and then just 10 times. So that's how you create another line on top of another line. Okay. Cool. Now let's say you want to create, let's say we want to create a new figure and there's subplots. Now what is that? Well, let's say figure 2, and we're going to do subplot 2, 1, 1, and I'll talk about this. Then we're going to plot x versus y, and then on the next subplot, it's going to be 2, 1, 2, and we're going to say plot x versus z. So we created a new plot. So we should have 2 plots when we run this. This figure 1 is what we already know. I'm going to just X that off. And I'm going to blow this up. We've now created a subplot where it's y squared at the top and this 10 times x at the bottom. So how does this subplot work? Well, you see how I type subplot 2, comma, that 2 indicates we have 2 subplots. Okay, and that's the we're going to have 2. Now the 1 indicates the orientation, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. I'll switch it so you can see the difference if I change it to 2. And then the last number indicates what number you're going to be plotting on. So 1 indicates this one right here, this top one, and 2 right here indicates the bottom one. So say I changed it to 3 and 3. Well, the last graph won't pop up because we haven't plotted anything on it right here. So that's why I did 2. And say we change this to 2 and 2, then it will be like this. Okay? So kind of like a smaller orientation. So the middle number gives you orientations. Usually I like to do 1 in the middle because I like to go down by down. Like in dynamics, for example, you got acceleration, you got velocity, and position. And those are basically like graphs. Acceleration at the top, velocity in the middle, position at the bottom. And again, you can then, underneath each plot, do your titles, put grid on, change your weight or your bold, and go from there. So, in recap, I gave you an understanding of matrices, a very basic crude on plotting and formatting and subplots. This should help you on your next homework assignment. Thank you very much and have a great day.